the man captures two beautiful girls. Candy, with her hot figure, makes him drool. Just as he is about to have some fun with Candy, Cherry interrupts him.
제가 더 잘할 수 있는데 난 어때요?
The man then notices that the mature and sexy Cherry is more attractive than Candy. He eagerly wants to have an intimate conversation with Cherry, but Cherry says there are other people here, so they should find another place. The man, not wanting his fun time to be disturbed, agrees to Cherry's request. He unties Cherry and takes her next door, then roughly pushes her onto a table. Cherry turns around and looks at the man nervously. He stares at Cherry's sexy body and then can't help but start touching her. Cherry's next words arouse him even more. The man instantly feels a burning desire, but he has no experience in this area and can only scratch his head nervously. He takes a tentative step forward, and seeing Cherry doesn't resist, he pounces on her. Cherry takes the opportunity to grab a brick and smash it on the man's head. However, the man doesn't pass out. He grabs Cherry's hair and punches her in the stomach repeatedly. Just as he is about to continue playing with Cherry, Jong from the next room has freed himself and hits the man on the head with a stick, knocking him out. Feeling humiliated, Cherry kicks the man's body frantically, and Jong quickly pulls her away. They must escape quickly because they are the prey, and the hunters are on their way. 5 hours earlier, Cherry and Candy prepare to go to a small island for a vacation. Last night, Cherry's sugar daddy says he needs to entertain a congressman and asks Cherry to bring a pretty girl to provide special services for him. So, she immediately finds her good friend Candy. They meet a man named Jong on the yacht, who always seems preoccupied. Jong's destination is the same as theirs because the island is deserted and has only one hotel. Shortly after landing, a car arrives, and Jong goes alone to the hotel. Two brothers named Sean and Peter get out of the car, claiming they have been sent by Cherry's sugar daddy to pick her up. Seeing Cherry's doubt, Sean explains that Cherry's sugar daddy will arrive later. So, the two brothers take them around the island and enthusiastically help them take photos. In the cheerful atmosphere, Cherry and Candy gradually let down their guard. Sean occasionally flirts with Candy, and his handsome appearance makes Candy infatuated with him. This is exactly what Candy wants, so she follows Sean to a secluded place. During the photo shoot, Candy becomes more proactive, approaching Sean like a cat in heat. Naturally, Sean doesn't refuse the delicious meal offered to him, so he and Candy have an intimate interaction. While they are having fun, Jong arrives at the hotel, but he sees a butcher crouching in a pool of blood, seemingly dealing with some kind of corpse. The butcher notices the eyes behind him and slowly stands up. Seeing Jong's wary expression, he smiles and explains that it is a beast's corpse. Hearing this, Jong doesn't think much of it and enters the hotel. He is sensitive to blood because he has killed someone. Not long ago, his sister was killed by a drunken Chable's son, who was ultimately acquitted thanks to his family's power. So, the enraged Jong takes his own form of justice on him. Jong comes to this isolated island to lay low but accidentally overhears a conversation between Sean and Peter. Hearing the word hunt, Jong senses they have some conspiracy, but he doesn't meddle, as he is still a fugitive. When he passes by the butcher's warehouse again, he hears strange noises. Curious, he approaches and looks through a crack in the door, finding 3 writhing sacks inside. Just as Jong wants to get a closer look, the butcher's voice suddenly comes from behind him. The butcher explains that those are beasts he has just hunted. Seeing his honest and friendly appearance, Jong doesn't ask further questions. At this moment, Cherry and the others finish their tour and return to the hotel. Cherry then invites Jong to lunch, having taken a liking to this mature and steady man. However, an accident occurs during the meal. After drinking the beverages brought by Peter, the 3 of them gradually lose consciousness. When they wake up, they are already in a warehouse, their limbs bound. Sean tells them there is a fun game coming up. He leaves Peter to guard them while he goes to inform the butcher. Before leaving, Sean warns Peter to keep his dick in check. Peter agrees verbally but has long been lusting after the 2 girls. Jong recalls hearing Sean mention hunting and senses danger, so he starts thinking of ways to escape. Just as he is about to cut through the rope on his wrist, Peter walks into the warehouse. He intends to enjoy the young and beautiful Candy first, but Cherry volunteers to take Candy's place. Blinded by hormones, Peter doesn't realize it is a trap. After Jong knocks him out, he immediately takes Cherry and Candy and leaves. However, as soon as they step out, they run into the returning Sean, and they have to run desperately into the woods. On their escape, they encounter a passing car. Cherry stops the car to ask the driver for help, feeling like she has grasped at a lifeline. At this moment, Jong also arrives and sees that the person in the car is the butcher. Moreover, the tattoo on his arm is identical to Sean's. The butcher does not deny it and instead shows a playful smile. Sean, holding a stick, is already behind them. Jong reacts quickly and begins to fight back against Sean. The butcher watches their struggle with great interest. Cherry is already scared out of her wits, forgetting to run. Armed with a weapon, Sean is no match for Jong, but Peter arrives at this moment. After knocking Cherry down, Peter ambushes Jong from behind. He wants to kill Jong, but the butcher stops him.
놀거리가 하나 사라지잖아.
Seeing the butcher's cold gaze, Peter has to obey. Clearly, he is still resentful about what has happened, but seems very afraid of the butcher. Jong and the others are brought back to the warehouse, and the 3 writhing sacks he saw earlier turn out to contain people. The old man with glasses is Cherry's sugar daddy, and the other 2 are the congressman and his secretary that Cherry's sugar daddy had mentioned the night before. The butcher gives everyone 2 choices: die or join them and become hunters. It turns out the butcher is a psychopathic killer who enjoys hunting people like animals. Moreover, he recruits the survivors of each hunting game into his ranks. Sean and Peter have survived the last hunting game. The first game is dice rolling. The old man doesn't dare to bet his life and tries to buy his way out of the game. The secretary is furious at his cheating behavior. However, the butcher has no interest in money and threatens to cut out the old man's tongue if he continues talking nonsense. Seeing the knife at his throat, the old man has no choice but to pick up the dice. Unfortunately, he only rolls a 2. The next person to roll is the secretary, who casually throws a 6. Then it is the congressman's and Jong's turn, who roll a 4 and a 3, respectively. The old man is so scared he almost wets himself.
상상도 할 수 없는 그런 돈을 줄 수 있다고.
The butcher hates people talking about money in front of him, so he really cuts out the old man's tongue. The butcher hands the knife to Candy, saying that women don't have to play the game but have to kill the loser to pass. He believes everyone has a hidden instinct for killing.
그것을 깨울 수 있는 사람만이 진정한 사냥꾼이 될 수 있다.
The butcher then turns his gaze to Cherry, forcibly placing the knife in her hand.
네 오빠도 저렇게 된다.
Cherry trembles with fear, but to save her tongue, she approaches her sugar daddy. This is the human nature the butcher loves to see. No one is unselfish. In the face of danger, everyone only considers themselves. The butcher orders her to give the old man another stab, but Cherry has lost her courage. After all, she had been happily in bed with this old man just the night before. At this moment, Jong picks up the knife and stabs without hesitation.
3번이 참 아주 흥미로운데 다친 팔로도 꽤 정확하게 찌르는 거 보니까.
Then the second round of the game begins, and this time the congressman rolls the lowest number. The secretary takes the initiative to ask for the knife, wanting to kill the congressman to prove he is worthy of becoming a hunter. The butcher deliberately drops the knife between the congressman and the secretary, who immediately start fighting fiercely for it. Watching them struggle to the death, the butcher laughs heartily. Eventually, the secretary kills the congressman and becomes the winner, but he doesn't put down the knife. The secretary is clearly no match for the butcher, and soon only 3 people are left alive. The butcher feels tired of the game and plans to continue it the next day. While the butcher and Sean go to dispose of the bodies, Peter has other thoughts. He first beats Jong, then looks at Cherry with a lewd smile, but Jong suddenly taunts him.
사람 안 죽여봤지?
뭐?
난 사람을 죽일 만한 배짱을 가진 놈이 아닌 것 같거든.
뭐 이 새끼야? 네가 뭘 알아? 어?
니들 중에 네가 제일 따까리 맞지?
Jong has long seen that this guy is all talk and no action, essentially a coward, so he deliberately provokes Peter with words. Peter, enraged and humiliated, kicks Jong, but Jong takes the opportunity to free himself. Peter feels utterly humiliated and grabs an axe to prove he can kill. He is no match for Jong, especially since Jong also has a weapon. Peter, losing his mind, is stabbed several times by Jong and then kicked unconscious. The 3 dare not delay and run away again, but Jong is injured in the fight and can't run fast. So he tells Cherry and Candy to go to the pier to find a boat while he stays behind to hold off the hunters. At this moment, the butcher and Sean have already returned to the warehouse.
집 애들이랑 환자 좀 지키라고 놔뒀더니 제대로 하는 게 없냐?
뭐 이 새끼야?
It seems Peter really is as Jong says, the lowest dog among the 3. Facing the butcher's fierce gaze, he doesn't dare to make a sound. The 3 of them each equip themselves with weapons, and the real hunt officially begins. The butcher, being the leader, immediately finds bloodstains as soon as he enters the jungle and determines that the prey has already split up. So he sends Sean to chase Cherry and Candy, while he and Peter go to deal with Jong. Unexpectedly, Cherry and Candy get lost and run back to their starting point. Sean happens to see the scene. Sean shoots an arrow into Candy's back. Sean walks out of the woods triumphantly, and Cherry, upon seeing him, runs away, leaving Candy alone. Sean doesn't rush to chase, but instead watches the injured Candy on the ground with amusement. At this moment, Jong, hearing the commotion, quietly approaches.
살려주세요. 오빠가 원하는 대로 다 할게요.
Hearing her seductive hints, Sean puts down his crossbow. He prepares to have some fun with his prey before killing her. Suddenly, Jong, who is peeking, accidentally steps on a branch, making a noise. Sean immediately picks up the crossbow and shoots at Jong, but Jong easily dodges it. However, Sean doesn't pursue but instead informs Peter of Jong's whereabouts, giving him a chance for personal revenge. Peter frantically chases Jong, but Jong dodges all his arrows. Finally, a cliff blocks Jong's path, and Peter catches up to him. Peter raises his crossbow and aims at Jong. Jong holds his breath, staring intently at Peter's finger. Jong miraculously dodges the fatal arrow at such close range. When Peter tries to take out another arrow, he finds his quiver is empty. Jong taunts him, calling him a coward. Peter is furious, hating being looked down upon. Even though he truly is a failure, he discards the crossbow and takes out a hatchet. Jong doesn't dare to confront the hatchet head-on, knowing a single hit could send him to the afterlife. While constantly dodging, he finds an opportunity and quickly grabs Peter's wrist. Then he casually throws a few straight punches, knocking Peter down like a dog. This hatchet ends Peter's miserable life. He wants to be a tough guy, but hasn't killed anyone. He wants to dominate women, but is always thwarted by Jong. He really is doomed to be at the bottom from start to finish. Jong takes Peter's walkie-talkie before leaving. When the butcher arrives, all he finds is a cold corpse. Although Peter is a waste, he is still a loyal dog to the butcher. Jong arrives at an old house where he has agreed to meet Cherry before they separated. As soon as they meet, they hug each other, but now is not the time for intimate interactions. At this moment, Candy's voice comes through the walkie-talkie.
세야. 아저씨하고 같이 사? 그래. 우리 만나기로 한 건물에 있어.
Jong snatches the walkie-talkie. This stupid woman inadvertently gives away their location. The butcher wants Jong to join him and replace Peter, but only if Jong brings Cherry to him. But Jong directly turns off the walkie-talkie. Jong sees a fishing boat on the beach, which might be their only chance to escape. However, as soon as they step out of the house, an arrow pierces Cherry's leg. It turns out the butcher's earlier words were just a delay tactic, and they have to hide back in the house again. Cherry knows she can't walk anymore, so she tells Jong to escape alone. Jong says nothing more, leaves with "I'll be back," and quickly leaves. But Jong doesn't escape. Instead, he appears in front of Sean, staring coldly at him.
이 새끼가 날 가지고 놀아?
Sean immediately chases after him. With a crossbow in hand, he toys with Jong like a cat with a mouse, but he doesn't know that Jong is waiting for an opportunity. Finally, as they reach a meadow, Jong picks up a hatchet he has hidden there and throws it at Sean, knocking the crossbow out of his hand. Jong quickly closes in on Sean for close combat. Sean is quite skilled, much stronger than Peter. When Sean's knife stabs at Jong again, Jong catches him in a break and puts him down with an over-the-shoulder drop. Sean ultimately dies under his own arrow, but the strongest enemy is still the butcher. He throws Cherry and Candy on the beach, waiting for Jong to walk into the trap. At this moment, Candy is barely alive from excessive blood loss. Jong, covered in wounds, arrives as the butcher expects. Seeing Jong, the butcher smiles happily, finally encountering an interesting prey. The butcher invites Jong to join him again, but Jong refuses. Tigers do not ally with hyenas. Jong's refusal enrages the butcher, who cruelly slashes Candy's throat to intimidate Jong. Jong is unfazed by his methods, seeing the butcher's actions as child's play.
재밌나?
This completely enrages the butcher. They each hold a knife and engage in a deadly fight. At first, Jong is no match for the butcher, having been exhausted from long-term fleeing. But Jong's endurance and reaction speed are superior, and the butcher has no intention of killing him because he admires Jong's abilities.
잠시나마 너와 한 팀이 돼서 같이 사냥하는 상상을 했었어. 이 섬엔 주기적으로 사냥감이 들어오지. 하긴
나도 사람을 죽이지. 죽일 가치가 있는 너 같은 놈들 말이야.
Realizing he can't convince Jong, the butcher decides to destroy him. He punches Jong to the ground and strangles him with a rope. However, Jong seizes a moment of inattention, grabs a knife from the ground, and stabs the butcher's leg. The situation reverses, and the butcher is now the one being strangled.
네가 여자 하나 때문에 다시 들어오고 싶다. 없어져야 될 놈들은 너무 많아.
Jong recalls the excitement of his previous kill, finding the feeling thrilling. Seeing Jong's sinister smile, the butcher realizes Jong is the true hunter. The butcher dies reluctantly, but it's not over. Jong walks to Cherry and frees her from her bonds, but Cherry is not happy, knowing she is also guilty. She had tricked Candy into coming for a photo shoot, not telling her it was a sex transaction, indirectly causing Candy's death. Originally intending to spare her, Jong decides to become a judge again, determined to kill all evildoers.
미안하고 사죄하고 회개하면 새로운 사람이 될 수 있을까?
As Jong tightens his grip on the knife, the story comes to an abrupt end. If nothing goes wrong, Jong will become the new master of the island, continuing to hunt shameless villains.